Okay, let's get into the stock market technical analysis. We'll look at some broad markets and it's going to be pretty brief. So if you guys are finding value, thumbs up. Appreciate that. Let's get into it. Not a whole lot going on today. I mean, in general, pretty mild market. Looking at the triple Qs, the tech sector, we have, we're kind of hanging out just in the same area for the last few days. There is bigger picture on the daily chart. We've got the bearish engulfing, so that marks the top or potential top because, again, bearish engulfings are a topping stick. So as long as you don't get a daily close above there, then it's the top. And if they want to pop it, they could. I could easily see them doing it. And then we would still have negative divergence on the momentum. But as of right now, that's holding. And it's really just, if I look at like the hourly trend line, you can see that we're kind of just holding this trend right here. You got support, there's a reaction, there's another one, and then we're just kind of chopping through it. It's actually been broken. The trend line was broken, but we're just grinding along below it or right on it. So not a definitive sell signal, really. There's still some work to do. Now, we did yesterday or the day before, really a couple days ago, right here, we did have a bearish engulfing right there. That is a bearish engulfing candle, and we haven't seen a daily close above that candle either. So the way I would probably address it is I would just assume that bearish engulfing there, that should be the top. If they pop that, they're very likely going to go pop this all-time high one right here. So it's not an all-in short by any means. There's just not enough. There's not enough proof in the market that we have a short here and now. We are up near resistance, so I don't think it makes sense to be long. And we do have negative divergence, but we don't have a sell signal that tells us to trigger short yet. So this could go on for a little while. Could grind around a little bit more. Okay, so that's it. And then when I go to like Nvidia, they're all up today, but we're not really going anywhere. Slight bias or lift to the upside because we're in a pretty dull market, and when you're in a dull market, you're usually going to just kind of float higher, given that you've got 401k money coming in and just things like that. No real volume though, so in general, we just kind of got the float going on. Nvidia, again, has a bearish engulfing. There's the high right there. It's about 139.80 was the high on Nvidia, and we haven't taken that out with a daily close above. So we're just kind of right there at resistance without a daily close above. That marks the top in Nvidia. Again, you get a daily close above, it's not the top. So we don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know if it's the top. You can hope, right? If you're long, you can hope it's not the top. There's nothing technical to tell me that it is going to continue to go higher. The only thing technical I have is I have a topping stick right here, a bearish engulfing. I have negative divergence, momentum dropping, and I have a topping stick. I have momentum dropping, and so that tells me that is very likely, or there's a good chance that's the top. And then I have a bullish trend down here, an uptrend. All right, the uptrend has not been broken, so I think if you had to give the bias, I guess you could lean long because the trend is up still, that hasn't been broken, but we're not at support, so we're more at resistance. So I prefer to look for a short or the downside for a move down to support. All right, and then down there at support, that's where if you're looking to go long, that's the objective area to be long. So it's not objective to go long here or really be long because you're at resistance. It's objective to be long down here. So that's all I got there on Nvidia. And until Nvidia breaks, the market's not going to break. So that's basically it. Now I am seeing some weakness in semiconductors, a little more weakness. Nvidia's up, but I go to like AVGO, Broadcom, that's down 1.5%. All right, they're selling that one. And then just the ETF, the SOXX, it's not down a lot, but it's down when the rest of the market's up. We're seeing some of these semiconductors getting sold today. So not impulsively, I'm not going to read too much into it. But again, we're seeing some downside on the semiconductor. Gold miners. Again, these are on watch for a short. We have a bearish rising wedge. And I've kind of marked out there's resistance up here. We're at resistance now and support down below. And so you can see a very well-defined wedge. And we have momentum dropping. And we have a bearish rising wedge. So no sell signal. We're still in the wedge. And until we break one way or the other, it's kind of just a holding pattern. We're just kind of waiting for this to give us a sell signal. Now, you do have, look, it held support here, and because it held support, they rallied it right to resistance. And that's really it. We're just in the wedge. So this can continue to wedge higher. There's nothing says that it can't. But, from where you're at right here, we're at resistance. So it's more of an objective short at current levels there, basically now, than it is anything. All right, the only trade to really do now, if you're long, I think you could cover, you close out those longs because you're at resistance, or you could establish a short. It's objective. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. It's lower probability when you're shorting into resistance than when you are shorting on a break of support, which is what a breakdown would be. So, one way you could average into it. That's one way to manage it. I'm kind of waiting. I'm holding off. I want to see this thing break support. So until I see that, I'm going to just hold off. Because when I look at like Newmont mining, there's Newmont. You had the same bearish rising wedge. You broke down here, but they recovered it. It was a false breakdown. So again, I need to see rejection candles. I need to see a breakdown. We have negative divergence. We've got this bearish rising wedge pattern. Need to see those rejection candles to establish short. So I'm kind of waiting on many of these. It's odd to me though when I flip over to the dollar, like dollar futures, that's been doing nothing but ripping to the upside, and yet gold is still kind of hanging in there. So which one is it going to be? One of them is bluffing. One of them's lying. Either the dollar is going to sell off and make an impulsive leg lower, and gold is right, or the gold rally is going to fail. So, the way when I have to look at it, I see bullish divergence here in the dollar. That was marked out right there. So I was anticipating the dollar to move up. That was, I did talk about that on the channel and got that one right. But then equally, I'm anticipating gold to kind of sell off and then gold miners to sell off because they have negative divergence. That hasn't happened yet. So just kind of looking, just pointing that stuff out. And bigger picture, here's the S&P 500, the SPY. We continue this bearish rising wedge pattern. So there it is. And this, this pattern has really been building. It wasn't fully defined until, right about, you have 1, 2. It really hasn't been fully defined until about here when you had 3 reactions on that support line. So we've been going for about 2 weeks in this well-defined bearish rising wedge pattern. We have negative divergence. We're just waiting for the sell signal, and we just don't have that yet. We're still in the wedge. So more of the same, just kind of grinding to, and it's a bearish rising wedge. So it tells you that we can continue to kind of float higher as we come to the close of this pattern, and it's going to make a move. Probability says the move's going to be to the downside, and the projected target is the widest part of the wedge, which if it happens, the breakdown happens soon, it's still setting us up really for a move down to about 538-ish, somewhere right in there. All right, no sell signal on that one, so it's a waiting game. Likely not going to be resolved till, not this week at least. Home builders, again, bearish rising wedge, negative divergence there, there, and, your bearish rising wedge. So that's it on that one. Those are setting up. They're setting up for a short. They're just not actionable yet. And then when I look at like PHM, this is the one I've been kind of zeroing in on. But again, really cleanly defined bearish rising wedge, negative divergence. So same thing. Regional banks, KRE, again, negative divergence. You can see it's starting to confirm, at least on the RSI. I see the momentum is dropping. And this week, or really the last couple weeks, we've had to move up, but they're selling into that today. And here's the momentum. Here's zooming in on the RSI turning down right there. So that's confirming that divergence. We need to see the PPO start to turn down. And, we make a new high. We made a new divergent high. That's all it is. Very likely going to get sold into. And then when I look at stuff like FITB, which is another regional bank, again, bearish rising wedge. This is, very well-defined wedge here on this one. Earnings is out of the way. So this should be able to be free to make its move now. They were very likely going to hold this thing up into earnings. If it was going to break down, could have done it on earnings. Hasn't done it so far. We do have a bearish engulfing candle as of right now. You can see there's your bearish engulfing. So that might be the top. Again, you can mark it as the top. You could short this thing and treat it as the top with a stop slightly above. And, the widest part of the wedge here is all the way down here, which tells me when you get a break of support, this thing is very likely going to head, down to 32-ish area. So, again, the short setup, not actionable, really. XLV, this is healthcare. Really, the only thing that's going on here is we're holding support. All right, you have an uptrend line, support. All right, some reactions there, reactions there. There's another one, and we're just sitting right there on support. So this could easily make another leg higher. We don't even really have negative divergence on this one. Well, slight negative divergence right here. But that could extend. All right, this doesn't look like it's a definitive sell signal, and I could easily see this thing extend to make another leg higher. So no sell signal on the healthcare stocks or healthcare sector in general. XLP, consumer staples, holding bullish trend. All right, there's support, there's support. You can see lots of reactions. There's another one. So holding support, but we do have negative divergence. This was a divergent high basically right there. And we've got negative divergence. Now that could extend for sure. That's why I'd say, that's why it's not just let's get short because we have divergence. We only are going to want to get short these when we break the trend line support. Okay. So this is on watch because of the divergence, but it could push up and make another leg higher. No reason to actually short. I don't really want to get long it with the divergence there because it could break any time. We don't know when it's going to break. It just tells me be on a watch. So that's what we got on that one. NTR, this is a long trade. It's actionable, and you've got support right in here. It's about 47.30. There's another reaction. And, we hit it again yesterday. It's still kind of hanging out in that area. So sitting at or around support. And yeah, you could set a stop slightly below because if you break that, besides just kind of an intraday break, if you start to break down, then you're probably going to go down to the lows and make a new low. All right. But again, that is support. So until, that should hold. And if it doesn't, you can always get out and it's objective. So I think we go up from here and we'll continue to watch that. Big bullish divergence. Momentum has been building on this one. So this is one that I want to be long. All right. This is one, it's come off the all-time highs. Or I don't know if this is the all-time high. Yeah. The all-time highs has come off 60%. So it's down 60% off the all-time highs. You had a clean downtrend line. You broke out of that downtrend line. It's been back testing. And, it's objective to be long, especially with this bullish falling wedge here. And you broke out of that. So very objective. This bigger picture, this is a very objective area to be long. Whether it works or not, it's objective because you're buying this thing at potentially, really good prices for the next push higher. So that's what I got on that one. Okay, that's really it. There's just not much more to talk about today, so I'm not going to. So I'll leave it there. Catch you guys on Monday. I'm not going to be able to do the live stream tomorrow, so I'll catch you guys on Monday. Take care.